Welcome to Eldercare Illuminated, Torchlight's caregiving podcast. Eldercare Illuminated addresses the ins and outs and ups and downs of caring for your loved ones. Join us for interesting conversations with eldercare specialists, geriatric care managers, attorneys, and ordinary people with extraordinary caregiving experiences.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Eldercare Illuminated, brought to you by Torchlight. I'm your host, Lenore Tracey. Today's podcast is not an interview. It's a grumpy podcast, well, moderately grumpy, with me, a working caregiver, on a lovely May afternoon on a day that's gone sideways. Ever had one of those? Just a reminder that the Torchlight platform supports working caregivers who struggle to make time for the many competing demands of their lives: work, family, and taking care of an aging or ill loved one. If you're not currently a Torchlight user, as offered in your employer's benefit plan, but you would like access to Torchlight, ask your employer to call us. Contact information is on our website, www.torchlight.care. So, a little background. If you've been paying attention, you know that I work full-time, and I brought my mom home to live with us, me and my husband and my cat, when assisted living was no longer working for us. That is another story. That was almost a year ago, in June of 2017. I am lucky enough to have 3 wonderful caregivers that help take care of my mom at home. Professional certified nursing assistants. Are you listening out there, ladies? I adore you. They each have their own way of doing things, and I've learned a ton from them. More on that later. The best thing is that they all get my mother. They understand her needs, and they understand what's important to my family. In our case, the highest priority is that our mother be free of pain and anxiety, that she gets to hear the music she loves, and to the extent that she can eat, that it's foods that she loves, or should I say food that she loves, which is principally chocolate. So where does the grumpiness come in? Well, your professional caregivers are also family caregivers for their own families. They are real people. They have children, and their children get sick. Their cars break down. They get sick. Their water heaters blow up. And your lives are intertwined, for good or for ill. So what do? Of course, everything I'm going to say applies whether your loved one has an aide helping out at her home, at your home, or in a facility, because things go awry no matter what. First of all, if you work with an agency, which is what my family does, it's a good idea to have them develop a roster of substitutes who can be available for emergencies. Maybe your regular caregiver's planning a vacation. That's a great time to ask the agency to find 1 or 2 people who can get to know you and your loved one. And then you have a couple of people who you know and who have some experience with your household and with your loved one's routines. So that's plan A. Backup from the agency. If you don't work with an agency, and a lot of people don't, and you've hired a private aide, you might still consider contacting a local agency to use for backup care to cover scheduled absences or emergencies. And if you don't know where to find a reputable agency, check in with your local senior center, ask friends. That's always a great idea. Anybody who you know who's had any experience with rehab, they'll know of the agencies in your area who are reputable and who they've had good experiences with. But if you don't have backup care available, it's probably going to fall on you. And that's where learning from your caregivers comes in. If that's the most likely scenario, that you'll be on your own, I would say it's a good idea to schedule a couple of practice days. Plan a few hours or a standard shift when you're the aide. It will build your confidence, and it will also show you where you might need some extra preparation. Although that might sound like scheduling some torture and difficulty for yourself by yourself, it's a good idea to get some experience yourself if you haven't had it already. If your loved one's care is limited to minor help getting dressed or preparing meals and doing laundry, you're probably good to go and you don't need to practice. You'll manage on your own for a day or two. However, if your loved one has more involved needs, if she's confined to bed like my mom is, or requires incontinence care, you'll need to understand how to manage these tasks. And that's where learning from your professional aides comes in. On a day that you have time, ask your regular aide to teach you how to do the essential care tasks. They have all sorts of tricks of the trade that make things easier. And like I said earlier, they're each different. Every person does things in their own way. And you may find that you learn a variety of things from different people that are going to work for you. I would say one of the most important things I've learned from all three of the aides who care for my mom is to get everything you need for whatever you're going to do ready and close to hand ahead of time. So you might be helping someone wash up or brush their teeth in bed. You want to get everything you need in place right there at the bedside, or if you're going to be helping them do that in the bathroom, right on the sink, on the counter, ahead of time. You don't want to have to interrupt care to go get another washcloth or find the body lotion in the middle of giving care or assisting. You might be helping someone to be stable standing at the sink. You can't step away. Or you've got somebody who's partly undressed. You can't leave the room. You want to have everything there at the ready. Is mobility an issue for your loved one? You want to plan the order in which you're going to do things ahead of time so that you can minimize walking or wheelchair transfers. So I believe I've said this in the last couple of webinars that I've done, and it's kind of hitting me over the head, so I'll hit you over the head with it. Don't rush. There's no rushing in elder care. When you do rush, you either foul things up or you get your loved one flustered or upset. So take the time to plan what you're going to do for and with your loved one. And it's going to go better for both of you. Now, here's a really important thing to wrap your head around. When you're stuck and there's no one but you, perhaps the only thing to manage is the essentials. Could your loved one stay in pajamas because it's just too hard to get a full shower or bed bath underway, or you're just not the person to do it? Of course. Can you have sandwiches or scrambled eggs for lunch and supper? Because a regular dinner with protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables just isn't going to happen? Of course. Can the laundry pile up for another day? Why not? Your goal in an emergency situation where your regular caregivers are not available is to get through the day safely and in good spirits. That's the goal. Is your loved one going to crank at you about not doing everything, or not doing it perfectly, or not doing it the way your sister or brother does it? Maybe. Once again, your goal is to get through the day, to do the essentials, to try to be kind to both of you. You want to give yourself permission not to be perfect. It's not a worthy goal in this case, and you're likely to set yourself up for failure. So why do that? There's some nice articles out there by Dr. Barry J. Jacobs. He's a clinical psychologist and a family therapist and a member of AARP's Caregiver Expert Panel. And I love some of his advice regarding guilt and perfectionism. In an AARP article called Caregivers Living with Guilt, he gives some great tips, two of which I think we all need to think about. The first one is, don't aim for guilt-free caregiving. Is there any familiar relationship that is entirely guilt-free? And are the things we do out of guilt always the right thing to do, given freely? By definition, I think the answer is probably no. Most of us come to caregiving for a variety of reasons, which include accepting responsibility, feeling a sense of duty, wanting to do the right thing, feeling noble or heroic, And sometimes you do get to feel noble or heroic, but perhaps mostly you feel tired and crabby and wish you had more time to yourself or your kids or your hobbies. So aiming to feel free of guilt is simply not realistic. And I think his advice to don't aim for guilt-free caregiving is awesome. The second of his tips, there are several, but these two are my favorites. The second tip I find very helpful is to tolerate ambivalence. The dictionary defines ambivalence as having mixed feelings about someone or something. And yep, that says a lot about caregiving. It's not a walk in the park or a bowl full of cherries or whatever noble and beautiful picture someone else has conjured up and planted in your head and in all of our heads. That's just not accurate. Like the beautiful glowing way you've been told you will feel when you're pregnant. Nope, not accurate. Learning to tolerate your mixed feelings about caregiving and perhaps about your loved one and maybe even about the other people on your caregiving team, your siblings, your spouse, your kids, will help you get through this. And when your mom's Aide's car breaks down, you got to get through the day as best you can. So that is what I had to say about when your caregiver doesn't show up. Thanks for listening to this episode of Eldercare Illuminated. If you want more information about today's topic and saving yourself some headaches, and you have a Torchlight Elder account, simply log in and explore the e-guides tab of your navigation bar. Torchlight has many guides and tools focused on caring for the caregiver. That's you. If you don't have access to Torchlight Elder as part of your employer's benefit plan, but you'd like to, ask your employer to contact us. They can find our information on our website, www.torchlight.care. You take care now, and we'll see you on the next episode of Torchlight's Eldercare Illuminated podcast.
Thanks for listening to Eldercare Illuminated, a Torchlight caregiving podcast. Find other episodes of Eldercare Illuminated on iTunes, Spreaker, and Podcast Go. If you're interested in bringing Torchlight Elder or any of Torchlight's other caregiving products to your workplace, please contact info@torchlight.care. That's info@torchlight.care.